Greetings. Welcome back to Academic Asafo. In this video, I'll be doing a reaction to this trailer by Tasha K for the Jessica Reid interview. I think this is long overdue. I think Jessica Reid needs a little bit more coverage. But before I get into that, I will explain who Jessica Reid was and the situation with Charlemagne. So I will add a video to a full breakdown by Lovely T. She does a great job breaking this video down. So it started in 2018 with the Star Report. He broke this story, giving Jessica Reid a platform to talk about her situation with Charlemagne several years ago. Essentially, Charlemagne took Jessica Reid to a party. She says that they were just friends. He took her as a friend, and essentially he gave her alcohol, which basically altered her consciousness. She couldn't remember anything, but she does remember Charlemagne being on top of her. So she blacked out, is what I'm trying to say. She blacked out, and she had some periods where she was able to be conscious and see again, and she's seeing Charlemagne on top of her. So essentially, that is the story. There's a lot more other details to it. I will provide links to everything essentially. So Malika Joyner was her friend, and she corroborated the story as well too on the Star Report. Now the thing about the Star Report is that the Star Report has had issues with Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club. Charlemagne, basically he's the main host for the Breakfast Club. It's a trio: DJ Envy, Angela Yee, and Charlemagne the God. Probably the most popular hip hop breakfast, well, just regular show in general with the interviews and the topics that they touch on. So this story was really a big deal, and with everything with the Me Too movement going on, this story should have gained traction, but it really didn't. I posted a video on Lovely T, Star Report. Not many people, especially mainstream media, decided to cover this story. So she did a documentary with Choke No Joke. So he has a platform himself on YouTube and decided to do an entire documentary on the whole situation. Choke No Joke is actually somebody else that doesn't see eye to eye with Charlemagne as well too. So both Star and Choke No Joke have problems with Charlemagne the God. I don't know the exact details, but Choke No Choke was actually on The Breakfast Club, and because of the problems, they took that episode down from the YouTube page. So basically, it looks like to some people, people will say, "Oh, well, these people have problems with Charlemagne, so they only have an agenda. That's the only reason why they're covering this story." So after the documentary comes out, Funk Master Flex, he decides to do a rant on his radio show on Hot 97 to speak about the entire situation. He basically torches Charlemagne about the situation because not only the story and the documentary, but Charlemagne has a lot of interviews from an old podcast that he has said not directly about the situation, but he said stuff similar about Spanish Fly, using Spanish Fly in other situations, having relations with women who are extremely intoxicated, essentially. So he's actually talked about this in the podcast was called The Brilliant Idiots. They've rebranded it since because of the whole controversy that was going on. But he made either two or three different types of statements, all with a similar nature. And it paints a picture of Charlemagne's character, of how he is essentially. And with all these different clips, even though they're not directly related, in some ways, some parts of the story coming out of Charlemagne's mouth is related to what happened to Jessica Reid. All you have to do is really hear her story and then hear these different clips and see how similar some of the aspects sound. So Funk Master Flex is also somebody that doesn't like Charlemagne. You could even see here Donkey of the Day by Charlemagne gives it to Funk Master Flex. So they don't see eye to eye. So this situation with Kwame Brown now, um, oh yeah, I also forgot to explain about how everything I guess was resolved. So a reason why people are not really pursuing this is because Charlemagne took a plea deal to essentially get out of the allegations. So when the allegations first came up, the parents decided to press charges and everything, but then the mother just told Jessica Reid not to pursue it anymore, and essentially that it wasn't worth it because Charlemagne at the time was part of radio, local radio or something. So Jessica Reed's mother actually talked Jessica Reed out of pursuing the charges. So Charlemagne has said that the charges were dropped because his DNA was not a match or was not positive. But the truth is that the DNA samples of his were not tested at all. So he took a plea deal and he took a plea deal of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So he does admit that he gave alcohol or some substance to Jessica Reed as well too. So Charlemagne did admit some guilt, even though he didn't admit fully to everything that happened. He took some, I guess, some responsibility, you can call it, for that situation. Now, this situation with Kwame Brown, so everything had died down. Charlemagne had pretty much renamed the podcast with all those clips, pretty much scrubbed as much traces as he can. I mean, you couldn't get rid of everything, but he was able to control the podcast and editing the podcast and everything on that end as well. Um, It was a lot of YouTube channels were censored for talking about this topic as well too. I won't get too deep into that. So now Kwame Brown comes along. He has issues with two other. Kwame Brown is a retired ball player, has nothing to do with Jessica Reed at all. And Kwame Brown gets into it with two other ball players who have a podcast. Forgot the name of the podcast, forgot the name of the ball players, but it really doesn't matter because they're all part of the same network as Charlemagne. So Charlemagne decides to talk about Kwame Brown, decides to dig up his family's past and essentially try and use it to warn people to stay, just leave him alone. Essentially, like he's basically saying his life is messed up. He didn't have a great career in the NBA. He was a bust, this and that. So Kwame Brown responds with some ether essentially, and basically touches on the story of Jessica Reed and brings back the entire thing. Because the question really is, why would Charlemagne talk about somebody else's past when his past is not even 100% square, right? Um, so Kwame Brown talks to Jessica Reed's mother. She explained in this interview why she decided to tell Jessica Reid to not deal with this, essentially. And I do think her reasoning is valid. I don't think she had any malicious intent. I don't think she should be punished for telling her daughter not to deal with it. It is very difficult for victims to come out, as we've seen with the Africa Bambaataa situation. Forget about women. We see how the men are treated when it comes to these types of situations in our community. So that is basically the last of what happened with this situation. Jessica Reid and Choke No Joke fell out. I forgot the exact details, but Jessica Reid went on to create her own platform, YouTube channel. So now everything has been quiet. The show Charlemagne had with HBO, that was slowed down and was paused from happening. And then after everything settled down, they gave the green light for the show again. So they put the show on a yellow light instead of as opposed to a red light, and they put it back on green light. I'm not sure if the show is still on now, but the show continued on. So Discreet never really got any big platforms, not no mainstream media. No platforms would really touch this subject. I think people were actually talking about why Tasha K was not covering the Jessica Reid situation. Um, Chatter on the internet saying Jessica Reid is in Charlemagne's pocket. So yeah, I'm just going to react to this trailer. It's not a very long trailer. I'll just give my thoughts.
And let me say this. Let me say this because I don't have a vendetta against Charlemagne. We've never done business. He's never been disrespectful or anything towards me. He's always provided a very neutral perspective to the things that have always been going on with me or stories that he's reported. So me personally, I don't know him. However, you're not lying about.
So I think she said that to say, just to clear up everybody, really, saying one thing or another. She's on Charlemagne's payroll. Why isn't she covered Jessica Reid and everything? Yeah, I think she just wanted to clear the air, especially on her side as well too. I don't think I've ever seen her do any. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she's done stories on Charlemagne. I think she's trying to explain that the relationship was neutral, and yeah, I think this is her like own way of saying why she did not decide to pursue this story essentially.
This.
Ariel, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I got this girl real drunk, and
Just that sentence sounds a little fishy. I got her drunk.
I didn't just get her drunk. I remember going. I went to the sex store and got Spanish Fly.
Oh, so you raped her?
Shut up. Spanish Fly. They sell it in the sex store. I'm telling the truth. They sell it in the Spanish store. I had the fucking.
They sell knives at the store too. You could put that to a girl's throat and have sex with it. That doesn't mean it's illegal.
So I put the Spanish Fly in the E&J. We drinking the E&J and shit. So in my mind, I don't know if this shit really worked, but I felt like I got horny as a motherfucker too. Right? So she was drunk as shit, and we had sex and shit, and like a lot of my boys was trying to come in the room and fuck her. I'm like, nah, chill out. I can't. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna let you run the train on it. That's rape. Yeah. Okay. So, right. So
it's just one-on-one. It ain't rape.
Yeah. So the next
trains are rape.
So the next morning she wakes up. And we talk about it. And she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, we had sex." She said, "Okay, well, I'm glad it was you." Then a couple days later, she's like, "Yo, are you sure I only had sex with you?" Because one of my stupid ass cousins was going around saying he fucked her, which he didn't. I know for a fact he didn't. Okay. I was there the whole time. Yeah. He did not fuck her. Yeah. He looked at her naked, but he didn't fuck her, right? So I'm telling her, no, me and you just had sex. Nobody else did nothing. So it just was weird that she was like, "Well, I'm just glad it was you." You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I'm like, yo, you could have been in a real bad situation if it was another
That's a huge
motherfucker there.
compliment, man. A girl just said, yo, at least you raped me.
I didn't rape her.
But
I did not rape her. I did not rape her.
If it was any of your cousins or friends, it would have been rape. But
I
you,
didn't rape her
Charlemagne?
because me and her had every intention of having sex with each other.
So then why would you put the Spanish fly?
I'm still a freaky motherfucker, but I was listen,
Wait, was she passed out while you fucked her?
Me and Malika were alone.
So that is one of the clips, the felonious clips that they went viral after this whole story came out and everything. There's one or two other clips similar. He's talking about the similar subject matter, but when you hear Jessica Reid's story and then you hear Charlemagne talk about these situations with the Spanish fly and drunk girls and everything, they all fit similar one way or another. So we'll continue on. But yeah, that's why Charlemagne changed the name of the podcast with I think his name's Andrew Schultz, the other guy he's talking to, and they're just laughing and everything.
Alone for a while until the EMS got there. Like, we were by ourselves. It was just dark. And then I just remember sitting on the curb just crying. I remember sitting on the curb just crying. And I was holding on to Malika, and I said, Malika, I love you. And she said, I love you too. And
So basically that's it. Like I said, Malika is our friend who corroborated the story. And honestly, I don't know what should happen to Charlemagne. He already pled out, so he can't be charged again for this crime. I know that there was an effort to try and get the DNA tested, reopen the case somehow. Also try and explain the situation with the mother stopping her, and now Jessica as an adult wants to pursue justice. So that really hasn't gained much traction anyways. So I think the more she talks about the situation, the more she is definitely going to heal. I think this wasn't talked about really because of mainly idol worship. I mean, I feel very strongly about how celebrities and influencers affect the minds of the masses. I'll probably do a video on idol worship just to break it down a little bit. But Charlemagne's has fame. He's successful. He created a brand within the culture with the Breakfast Club. So for people to think of him as a predator is very hard. He wrote the book Black Privilege and everything. I haven't read the book exactly, but in people's minds, Charlemagne is Black excellence in how he has come up with the Breakfast Club and how he's really put his mark on the culture. I can't deny the work that he's put in, but I can't deny he said a lot of crazy stuff as well too, as we've seen from the clip. I mean, it's even take this whole Jessica Reid situation away, hypothetically. Charlemagne has said insane things. He tweeted one time that the R. Kelly tape was the best sex tape ever. And even though he said it in a joking tone, it's like who jokes about that sort of thing. So, I mean, Charlemagne, he knows that he's been wild to say the least, you know, and I guess lately he's been trying to I guess turn around his image of being, you know, being wild on the radio and everything. Especially coming up under Wendy Williams, I guess, but really have to ask ourselves, what does what does this say about how we treat victims? Because we look at the Africa Bambaataa situation, look at this situation. This like, you know, Charlemagne, this wasn't he's not a serial predator, or I should say that he doesn't have serial allegations coming out. So he is a little bit different from other situations where there's several allegations coming out about a certain individual. How Charlemagne got caught here was he made serial comments about this situation in different ways. And, you know, on top of all the wild stuff he said, the wild entertaining stuff that he said, Um, some of the stuff he said was definitely out of pocket, and to what cost? Um, to what cost and compromise we have to make for a piece of the culture if it denigrates victims, essentially, if it denigrates the relations between men and women, because this also affects that situation as well too, the way that people defend Charlemagne and dismiss what's going on as well too. I mean, men and women do support Charlemagne, but I think there's a bigger picture at play, even though he did plead out. So, I mean, I don't see any charges coming, any new charges or anything, but I do think Jessica Reid deserves to have her voice heard as many platforms as possible. And I'll leave it at that. So, thank you for listening. Uh, Tell me your comments in the comment section, and peace out to the next video.